U.S. authorities have charged the surviving Boston Marathon bombing suspect with using a weapon of mass destruction, a charge that can carry the death penalty. The 19-year-old suspect, Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, is hospitalized under guard and has been unable to speak to investigators, but is reported to be answering questions in writing. Meantime, we're learning more about the teen and his brother. VOA Carolyn Presutti reports.
These photos shock the senses. The two bombing suspects seen in the background of so many pictures taken by spectators. In this one, you can even see the backpack in which police believe a pressure cooker bomb was hidden. 19-year-old Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, in the white baseball cap, is recovering at a Boston hospital after gun battles with police. He faces the death penalty if convicted on a federal charge of using a weapon of mass destruction. His older brother, Tamerlan, in the black hat, was killed by police 4 days after the bombings. Tamerlan attended Friday prayers and occasionally daily prayers at this mosque in Cambridge outside of Boston. Mosque officials say that twice he created a scene, arguing with the preachers, once about observing Thanksgiving and the U.S. Independence Day. But the more recent episode involved Martin Luther King Jr. Anwar Kazmi is a mosque board member.
The person who was delivering the sermon, he made a sort of a parallel between, how Martin Luther King had inspired people, and just like, our prophet Muhammad had inspired people. And he seemed to have been offended by that. He stood up and objected to it.
Mosque officials say Tamerlan called the preacher a non-believer who was contaminating people's minds. The congregation shouted back to him to leave, and he did. A YouTube page purported to be Tamerlan's has videos that allegedly promote jihad or holy war. Both men lived here in the Republic of Dagestan in Russia before coming to the United States. Their parents still have houses here. U.S. officials say Tamerlan visited Dagestan last year. This area is the focus of militants who want to establish an Islamic State, so residents here are accustomed to daily violence. Galia Suleymanen lives near the suspect's father.
There are always blasts, always criminals here. I only know the Tsarnaevs as good neighbors. I don't know anything else.
Anwar, a Muslim activist who didn't want to show his face, says he doesn't understand why the brothers didn't explode a bomb in their war-torn homeland rather than at the Boston Marathon.
There's no justification, neither in Islam nor in radical Islam, or Sufism, or even in Shia Islam, to the thing that happened in Boston. There's no justification.
Others say the United States needs to switch tactics to prevent future attacks. Ryan Morrow is with a group that promotes tolerance and challenges radical Islam. He spoke via Skype.
We need to focus on the ideology and less on tactics. And until we combat the ideology itself, the current trend of Islamic terrorism around the world is going to increase.
U.S. officials are still trying to determine if the Tsarnaev brothers acted alone or had support and training elsewhere. In Washington, Carolyn Presutti, VOA News.
Well, for more perspective, we are joined now by Carolyn Presutti, who spent time in Boston during those tense moments after the attacks. Carolyn, welcome to Africa 54.
Always a pleasure to be here, Vincent. Thanks.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the dynamics in this family. Tamerlan was not always like that, but there was some involvement in his character.
You're right. He started out as a typical 26-year-old in America. He was into boxing, very much into that. He was into women, marijuana, not unusual for a 26-year-old. And then his mother said, we're Muslims. You're not acting like a Muslim. And he started going then to the mosque. He started attending regular prayer services, as I mentioned in the report. He went a bit extreme with his views, though, started speaking up, started interrupting. Totally wasn't seeing any women, wasn't drinking anymore, wasn't using marijuana. His father got upset because his father was a big boxer, wanted him to continue with his boxing training, which he didn't do. So there were some family dynamics there, and also then you have the younger brother,
who
Dzhokhar.
seemed to have been a follower of the older brother, kind of following whatever he was being asked to do.
It seems that way only through the people that we've spoken with that knew both brothers. Dzhokhar was younger, he was 19 years old. I have two older brothers. I know I'm always looking for their affirmation, and he seemed like he was a truly nice guy. People didn't have so many good comments about Tamerlan, but Of course, he is 19, the younger one, so we do have to point out that he is an adult in our eyes.
And he's been
but
charged.
he could have been following a domineering brother. We don't know yet.
Now, you spent some time in Boston. When something like this happens in a place, it does change how people see a place. What are people telling you? How do they feel about the city?
Well, I think it has many parallels to 9/11. You know, the people first are in disbelief. They're in shock. Then the grieving sets in. Patriotism also then sets in with the flags, everyone singing the Star-Spangled Banner. And then eventually people get more vigilant. They become more aware, and that extends to the entire nation. They are just more aware of large groups, of who's standing beside them, who's leaving something behind. It's just that awareness that is spread.
Very quickly, do people feel like this young man was part of our community? Or do they feel like these were intruders?
They felt that Dzhokhar had really established himself as an American, grew accustomed to our ways, and he's actually an American citizen. Yeah. He got his citizenship about a year ago. They didn't feel that way with Tamerlan. He was always trying to find his way, they said. It never really fit. So those are the different brothers.
Wow, thank you very much.
Sure,
Did a
pleasure.
fabulous job out there.
Thank you.
Carolyn Presutti, our own Carolyn Presutti. Thank